truly an interesting one. English died a million deaths. The topic is a world where narratives are currency. The idea of this session is to explore how stories gain value and travel across platforms and shape culture, community, and most importantly, commerce. We are joined by three wonderful speakers, and please allow me to introduce our first speaker. Caleb Franklin is the founder of Matter Entertainment, a company that lies at the intersection of storytelling, technology, and immersive world building. He focuses on designing narrative ecosystems and stories that don't just live on one screen, but evolve across multiple platforms. With a background in building IP as expandable universes rather than just singular projects. Caleb is far more than what he will introduce himself as. He genuinely is one of the brightest minds that I ever have had the fortune of knowing. He's built businesses, brands, and people. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Caleb Franklin. Our next speaker is a gentleman who's built IPs across music, film, and everything media. Dhruv Jagasia is the founder of Big Bad Wolf, a creative studio and talent firm known for building bold, genre-driven stories and scalable intellectual property across the board. His work centers on reimagining how stories are developed, owned, experienced, how people as brands are developed, monetized, and you can possibly build experiences. Dhruv brings a sharp perspective on how narrative values are created, sustained, and monetized in today's attention economy. Our final speaker, we're joined by the producer at Storiculture, Ms. Tarana Reddy, where she works on shaping globally culturally rooted global resident stories across film, digital, and emerging formats. For those who don't know, Storiculture is based here in Goa. Tarana examines how stories carry social capital, influence behavior, and create shared meaning. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Tarana Reddy. Thank you all for joining us. Truly appreciate it. Our topic is, and I'm going to jump right in. Our topic is essentially where, in a world where narratives are currency. So my first question essentially is, if stories function like currency, what determines their exchange value? Is it attention, trust, emotional impact, or the longevity of it?
I think I'm good, yeah. I think in the work that we've done at Storiculture, last year we produced a film, Humans in the Loop, which is now on Netflix. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just going to cut you there. For those who don't know, Humans in the Loop is an outstanding film where the base of it is around AI, and it's one of the only few Indian films contending for the best foreign screenplay category at the Academy Awards as we speak.
Thank you. So I had the opportunity to kind of work on the campaign for the film. And what we realized, because we did this alternative distribution approach where we called it the Road to 100 Screens. And we took it through community screenings across the country, parallel to our theatrical release, because as a small film, we obviously did not get such a wide theatrical release. And the first thing that we saw as the power of the narrative was affinity. I think that being the first piece of the exchange rate to me is everybody who has ever interfaced with AI has had the same question that the film was putting forward. And the moment you create that first moment of affinity to your story, you're able to move past that point. And from there, I think it went to trust. immediately. Because like once you have the affinity to the story, you trust the creator, and then you want to support the creator in taking that story as far as it can go. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Caleb and Dhruv, for both of you, apart from actually creating, you also don a more financial hat, which is like sort of like the producer's role. If you could chime in terms of how is it that you look at it from that lens?
Well, I'll speak on behalf of Dhruv, and first and foremost, thank you so much to ESG and the organizers, and Sanjay, who, by the way, should be my agent, because he presents me way better than I think I present myself, so thank you for having me. Yes, to your point, I think a lot about money. It is the gasoline which powers jobs. It's the gasoline that powers economy and careers. And so when I heard your question, Sanjay, I thought primarily about money. Money's fun. If you think about entertainment, you could think about it in terms of direct benefit, and so that's the money that the content actually makes, and you can think about it in terms of indirect benefit. Those are things like tourism that gets appropriated because someone wants to go see Ramgarh where Sholay was shot, things like clothing, manufacturing, real estate. So on average, every dollar that you make directly from entertainment has a 3 to 5x compounding power indirectly. So for countries like South Korea or Japan, the indirect benefit of the stories they tell is like $10 to $12 billion a year, right? This concept of a Harajuku girl who wants to go to Tokyo, she's buying flights, she's eating ramen at cafes, right? And so I think we often look at what we do in this narrow lens of what did the profits do on the film. But the fact that I'm even in India is an indirect benefit of the people from the Indian film industry before us. I saw Kuch Kuch Hota Hai at Harvard, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I want to go to India. And I've been here ever since. So I'm a huge proponent of let's focus on the numbers, and let's focus on how we can maximize the value of the stories we tell. And then you guys can have the fun, and you guys can talk about culture. That's wonderful. But money, because I think that helps us to all grow.
Same for you, Dhruv?
Well, he said he's speaking on my behalf. So I'm going to just say that we both share the same barber. So I allow him to speak on my behalf a lot. We also share the same hat size. So very rarely will I ever argue with Caleb or with Tarana for that matter, because I presume I know very little. And these sort of introductions that Sanjay just gave is very daunting, because I'm transported back to class 8 where I failed, and my teacher looking at me going, nothing. You will be nothing. And I feel that when people read a story that often enough, that's what they think. Will this make something or nothing? And perhaps the value of anything in a narrative is not so black and white. As Caleb mentioned, there's a lot of gray. My daughter is 11 and my mother is 72. The one thing that they collaborate on every day is when her screen time is over, is a Korean show that both of them are watching together. And we lost my father 5 years ago, and he was super Punjabi alpha male, so my mother did not know a life without him. But this 11-year-old and her have now become best friends over a show in a language which neither of them understand. So there is a compounding power, not just in terms of money, but also, and I love money, I'm half Sindhi, so don't get me wrong. But there is value attachment. If you look at it from, so there'll be something which has inherent value because it's been told before. I don't know whether Tarana and Caleb will agree. Like, for example, when you do a film on someone's life story, or the Ramayana, or the Mahabharata, or a cultural event that took place somewhere, even like The Brutalist is a film with Adrian Brody, which is talking about the same trauma a community felt. So that story is being told. It has an inherent fast track. oh, I know this story, I think it'll work. From this side of the table, which is the people who are usually responsible for making sure that the P&L is in green. It's never in green. It's a lie. We just make it seem like it's green. But then there is a story like what she mentioned, which is so contemporary, and there is a need of the hour for it to be told. So that also gets fast-tracked. And then there is just a boy meets girl. And those are the ones that sometimes languish. But they also have an inherent value. So I think something which has history gets fast-tracked, something that's contemporary gets fast-tracked. I guess it's kind of like that.
So that's why it comes back to affinity, right? Like from wherever, whichever lens you're looking at, either you already know the story, so you want to engage with it, or you are engaging with the theme right now, so you want to engage with it, or you love and you want to engage with it. Like either way, you find a lens. Yeah.
One of the reasons why we sort of like requested the three of you to come together, because it's a very interesting mix. Caleb, you've moved to India and you run one of the most thriving businesses in the content ecosystem. And what's common between both you and Dhruv is, apart from creating at your own end, you also represent not just talent, but also offer business advisory to them to sort of like grow their respective businesses. And in a more commercial context. Dhruv also, for those who don't know, represents some of the finest music talent that we have in this country. Right? And Tarana, with Storiculture, I think it's pretty much the only alternative content producing house that exists in this country, and more so in Goa. So my question through all three of you is, when you're looking at producing content or even advising your respective talents, is it more from a world building and a world perspective? And at what point do you actually decide of saying, no, hyperlocal is better, and this one really doesn't translate into something that we could take across multiple platforms? And Dhruv, sorry, just to add, also from a music lens, how you perhaps look at it.
But things really changed. One of the people, which Sanjay very kindly mentioned, is a guy called Pratik Kuhad, who's a singer-songwriter from India. His biggest hit is an English song, if I can call it that. Yeah. And consequently, he has a song that's done really well, which is in Hindi, called Kasoor. So we've stopped looking at local, global, and these sort of barriers, at least when it comes to Pratik. But one of the people that I've been working with for the last 24 years is a band called Indian Ocean, which doesn't sing in any inherent Indian language, which also transcends, but completely different. Like where they'll be invited to a jazz festival, a Pratik will not be. So we've stopped advising. It's just commerce that kind of just takes over. I love how when it's culture, I'm looking at you, and commerce, I'm going this way. I don't mean it that way. Caleb is genuinely somebody I go to advice for. And I'm hoping that now that we've met, I can go to advice to Tarana as well. But commerce itself will dictate for us, Sanjay, of what the narrative is going to be for this next project. Because I think even project to project, it changes. World building is absolutely imperative and a function of, again, the project itself. Sometimes you do something which is just inherent in its nature and will kind of remain in one place. But when someone like Danish Seth, who's this constant creator, is building a character like Mr. Nags, which is now formally attached with the cricket team, that world will just remain now in the world of sports, and it kind of gives birth to itself. We'll just keep nudging it along and just give them the freedom and keep reminding that, I had a very odd conversation with someone we represent, where I went to that person and said, look, there are 6 people in my office looking for a S-Class Mercedes for you. It's fine. You deserve it. No doubt. But the day we have to go back to an Innova, please keep the same smile on your face. Because you didn't come here to ride in cars, you came here to make your art. Today is good, no problem. Tomorrow is not, no problem. I'll stand with you. Because whatever X percentage we take of 0 is also 0. So it's fine. And we'll stay there for the long ride. But this building is as loosely bound as possible for us as an agency. We don't make 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year plans, and this is what will happen, and then we'll do this. We can't function like that, because I can't function like that, I think, and my colleagues also are happy to respond to that.
I agree with Dhruv. You know, I will say that I have, in the last 6 months, taken a viewpoint that we as an industry are at a deep inflection point. I'm not going to call it a valley, but I am going to say that we are at a moment where collectively what we're doing in this room, what we're seeing happening with the Waves Conference and the ministry there is entirely important and needed. In the last 10 years, distribution of Indian films, I'm saying theatrically, has decreased 10%, right? So that same very story I told you about myself may not happen today because a Kuch Kuch Hota Hai isn't playing in Boston. A Kuch Kuch Hota Hai today sometimes isn't playing in Haryana. So we are at a moment where collectively we need to be creating the stories that are relevant, relatable, scalable. We need to be building the business incentives for us as a country and a community to make our content go as far as possible. And we have to continue telling it in a way that's local and authentic to us. Like I'm a huge fan of artists telling the stories they want to tell. So we'll never say you need to put a Farangi character into the script. Please tell the most authentic story, like Humans in the Loop. It's totally beautiful. But then it's our job to say, maybe Guillermo del Toro needs to hear this pitch. Maybe A24 needs to hear this pitch. Maybe we need to take this to the UK. And Sanjay, you do extraordinary work on behalf of our industry at film festivals and markets. So we don't have a crisis of creative capability. Like I see so many talented writers, directors, producers, artists, designers every day. But we do have a crisis of ambition. We have a crisis of getting out and letting the world know how beautiful it is what we do and how we do it. And I think that's where we need the most support today.
You know, I just want to ask you to build a bit on that, because one of the roles that matter that your team and you do is also sort of looking at India as a market for international players. Yeah. You know, we happen to work together on one of the biggest Japanese pop bands coming into India called JO1. And that goes back to the topic of saying, you know, where narratives are currency, because essentially you're trying to build currency in a country where they've really not tapped into. You also did something in Japan with a music format that you sort of set up there. So if you could tell us a bit about that, because for us, that is also taking a particular format across different mediums to sort of create value and currency to it.
Yeah, and it's extremely important, right? So your average Hollywood film, and I started my career in Hollywood in the US, and so a piece of content we would monetize across 167 rights. So that's everything from film, TV, DVD, merchandise, licensing, transportation, right? And we would negotiate and fight the deals for those rights. I think your average piece of content from India would do 10 to 12. And that would be an extreme winner. And I remember being in Tokyo and going to a theater that was doing a theatrical Japanese language version of RRR. And it was absolutely sold out. You couldn't get tickets for like 3 weeks. RRR, by the way, is so popular in Japan that I believe they're making an anime on it, right? But it's Japanese characters playing the roles. So if you just think about what we can do, both in bringing international content to India, but also in taking our content to different territories, because it's not just the US, sometimes it's Japan, it's Korea, it's Indonesia, and really thinking globally about where we monetize. I think that's the goal.
Dhruv, the same question for you, because you're doing that for a certain amount of music talent that you represent, right? I mean, typically it's not just a singer. I mean, there are music videos that come in, and then you look at live shows and creating live stuff. Then you also look at certain amount of merchandising that you can possibly do. What are those conversations in those rooms? Because you're essentially running that business. You're leading that business. You're convincing an artist of saying, here is my projection, this is how I'm seeing it, and this is where you need to be going. What is the pushback like? What is that thought process like? If you could tell us a bit about that.
Since we work with a lot of people who've got nothing to lose sort of attitude, right?
But you also have a lot of people who have a lot to lose.
Once they make it. So we, in inception, you'll start working with somebody closely when they are on the upward trajectory. That's the ideal scenario, is that you meet someone who's on the up and up both commercially and creatively, and not somebody who's already there. That's the ideal scenario. So we've just started working with, for example, Adnan Sami. Now, is he on the up and up? I think he's constantly on the up and up. So a conversation with Adnan Sami is very different from a conversation with someone like Nalayak, or even a young filmmaker like, or a DOP, for example, like we managed this guy called Jay Oza who shot Gully Boy and I don't know what of Bollywood. I don't know. We were told it was something else. Then got released. It was the Netflix show that's there. Who desires to be a director? But the most interesting thing about Jay is that he wants to start a line of clothing, which is shoot friendly, and he wants to make it affordable for every aspect of the shoot crew to be able to afford to buy it themselves. So we will now advise him not just on what to do, but we'll get into the depths of the R&D of the material, how it will be made, keeping in mind what the final MRP needs to be. He has nothing to lose sort of attitude, because this is not going to be his bread and butter. He's still going to be, till AI kind of figures out how to shoot film without needing DOPs, which is not too far away. This is going to be an ancillary income. So your approach is that way. Like Bani J wants to start a line of what she believes is phenomenal protein because the research is so well. Building with these people, you are able to actually plant questions or have to research your answers, because they come to you. Everybody is seeing that the economy today is not limited to just plying their trade. Everybody wants a backup. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and it's phenomenally amazing that they do. Because of people like Nikhil Kamath, etc., who've started something and then just become, celebrities overnight or over 2-3 weeks of really well done work and so on and so forth. So this diversification is something that everybody is very keen to do. A lot of people we work with are very keen to do. Some you need to pull back, because the expectation is tomorrow. We'll have tomorrow. Some is, hey man, wake up. You gave a great idea, but what do you want to do about it? Mostly, it is amazing to see how these people are not ill-informed or uneducated. Most of the people we work with, we don't have a moat economy, and it's kind of like Caleb's as well at Matter. We don't moat our artists in at all. Like, we don't get weary, jittery, or angry if somebody calls the talent directly. We must have a relationship enough where they point them towards us, and 9 times out of 10 that happens. But these people are people who are reading, who are very well informed and know what they want to do. We assist them in making and putting it into structure and reality. So we face very little resistance. From a creator economy of whoever else we are working with today, it's very rare that you'll meet an artist who's like, nah man, I don't want to do anything. I just want to do this. It's very rare. For me, my experience.
I mean, fair. Tarana, I'd like to move to you, right? Because Storiculture is doing something extremely interesting in terms of the content that you guys are doing. As a producer, particularly in the space of transmedia, and a producer in general with Storiculture, how do you measure the value of a particular story beyond just traditional box office, right? Because transmedia essentially is format-driven, multiple format-driven. How do you determine the value and then determine of saying, yes, this is something that we should do, we want to back? Case in point, say Humans in the Loop.
Sure. I think our approach has never been about the box office. I think because we realized that we're coming from a very different place. We began as an impact producing studio, right? So it begins with the social impact theme that the piece is actually about, and we understand what is the audience size that actually cares about that theme, which gives us the trust that we can actually back this piece. Beyond that, I think it's looking at how this piece can move across formats and across different audience groups, which is how with, for example, we have a documentary now called Auto Queens, which we actually have kind of launched alongside the first ever all-women auto rickshaw drivers union in the country, which is in Chennai right now. It's about 400 women auto rickshaw drivers who've all come together to kind of give each other the support that they need to actually like navigate the streets, right? And we've made a documentary based on two of them and their lives, and we just like we're able to see that the lack of sisterhood in any industry is a big theme, and the need for mobility for women in India is such a big theme that it's going to work, and we're usually right about that. Basically, that's kind of how we move with these choices. Yeah, it's from the impact space first, always.
So I'd like to completely agree with her even when it comes to artists wanting to do something, which is the earlier question you asked me. It is coming from a place of impact. And the most wonderful thing is that, again, in my personal experience, most people who are really driven by art are age agnostic. I can't tell you how relevant and how alive to new ideas someone like an Adnan Sami is. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Like, the person is out there because he just has the same innocence, which was when he or she was 16, or they were 16, that I just want my art out there. I'm okay to be told I don't like it, but just at least hear it, see it, feel it, touch it, whatever the medium may be. So I completely agree with her that impact both, and most artists also think of social impact. When they're putting something out there, whether good or bad, it's their opinion, but they're thinking about it for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, Hira Mandi had a massive social impact, and that's something
huge,
Caleb was driving because we had the pleasure of interacting on that. But that is also from an impact point of view. I think a lot of things what Mr. Bhansali does have impact first as an opinion.
I think artists are like nuclear reactors. When you see them, it's like seeing a furnace with so much potential. And yeah, like a Mr. Bansali, who we've had an opportunity to work with for many years, I think about a Hira Mundi and what that did all over the world, if you see the data that comes off of the show. But also a Gangubai, where if you go to Thailand and you see, sex workers in Thailand, they now celebrate Gangubai. She manifests and represents them. And so that's the great thing about talent and artists is we don't know where the energy goes, or frankly, if it will implode. Because sometimes the nuclear reactor does overheat. But I think it's our job to just make sure that it goes as far as it can.
Sorry. In fact, if you look at, there's this really old film, it's called Black Hawk Down, right? I am born in 1979. For my generation, what the US was, what their perspective to the world geopolitical scenario was completely defined by cinema. They pushed that narrative so hard that I somewhere inherently thought that the people who the US is against, I need to be against them. And obviously, thankfully, my grandparents and everybody slapped some sense into me going, what are you talking about? Do you know what our relationship with Russia was? And blah, 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 blah. And you got educated. And our schooling system also helped a lot in that, at least for me. Because I was a student of history. I'm sure a lot of it, I don't want to spark any debate on what the school system is like. I'm just saying that narrative is used. Again, it's impact first. Whether we like it or not. There are certain films which are called jingoistic and so on and so on. They also have an impact. And they are being made with that thought first. That I want to push this narrative because I will A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So impact is not something any artist is...
I have a very funny story. 2 weeks ago, I met with this Indian entrepreneur. He shall remain nameless because it was a confidential conversation, but he's built a company that's worth $700 million. It's an AI company. And I asked him, what inspired you to build this AI company? And he said, Jarvis from Iron Man. He said in my initial pitch meetings, he was like,
that's
I
the
just
name
want
of
to build Jarvis.
I use for my ChatGPT.
It's Jarvis. So it's right. And the Pentagon in the U.S. is very involved in making sure that those stories go to a large place. But to your point, I don't think we have a choice. Stories impact, right? No matter what story it is, it's going to have ripple effects that we can't even predict. The question is, are they going to be our stories or other people's stories?
So,
Exactly.
sorry, please
No,
continue.
no, I just want to say that like every story has impact. It's just that we know now to start from the impact first instead of the opposite way, right? Like we don't, if you don't start from the impact, you can't control where it goes. And I think that's that's
I mean, taking on from what you guys are saying in terms of impact, and all three of you seem to be on the same page when it comes to impact. But you're also people who are very business driven, hoping you are as well.
Of course.
Yes.
I mean, hopefully, yeah.
ट्रांसमीडिया के बाद ही प्रोड्यूसर लिखा है संजय सो चॉइस नहीं है उसके पास so whether she likes it or not.
So impact is always something that you start off with, right? Like from a development perspective, be it music talent, be it any talent that you guys possibly work with, or in terms of content that you're possibly developing. We always work with the best case scenario of saying, I want to create something and I hopefully will have impact on it. There are also moments like you gave a Gangubai example or a Hiramandi example, wherein you discover the impact something has caused. I want to talk about the latter half of it, where you discover impact. If you could talk, if the three of you could tell us a bit about identifying commercial viability and business and currency in that aspect, wherein you discover a particular impact and you say, hey, now here's a business model and here's something that I can possibly develop on it.
Mr. Howard will go first.
And does that even happen? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And I think going back to what we were saying about like those 167 rights that U.S. content creates, oftentimes for us, it is about just having enough information, networking to understand when that impact hits, and then being able to jump on it. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we may have missed the boat. Like I would have loved to have done a line of saris in Thailand for Gangubai. Like that would have been the best because they all got dressed in saris, so you're Gangubai sari. Sometimes you miss that boat. But other times, you can really begin to catch it. So I'll give you an example. One of our clients is an author named Amish Tripathi. He wrote the Shiva trilogy. It's India's fastest selling books in history, maybe outside of the epics. But off of just seeing the value of his books, we were beginning to think maybe he has some play in video games. And it turns out that we were able to put him into India's first AAA mobile game, which is called Age of Bharat. And it's absolutely fantastic. Now, his addition there is that he's not a game designer, right? In fact, he's not even a gamer. But what he is someone who deeply understands Indian culture, mythology, and history. And for the developers of that game, he's incredibly valuable, right? So that's just one sort of example, but we see this all the time across what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I also come from the gaming industry. I worked as a narrative designer for a while in my career. And something that we're seeing a lot now is you can build from an audience that is built around a gaming identity because it's so participatory. So that they're really invested in the game. And so they will back anything that's in that world. Anything connected to a game world that players have been obsessed with. You are able to build so fast from that's a big space we're looking at now as well. Participatory media, building from there has been a big play for us now, actually.
Sorry, if you could just elaborate.
I'll give you an example. Have you guys heard of this film that's opening actually on January 30th called Iron Lung? Okay, so Iron Lung was an indie horror game that came out many, many years ago. And there is a video, there's a YouTube creator called Mark Fishback. His handle is Markiplier. He's not the guy who made the game. He's not the guy who funded the game. Nothing. He's just the guy who played the game and did streams of the game for his audience. But his audience loved his streams of the game so much that they supported him to actually go and pitch to then adapt the game into a film. And it's his first feature film. He did everything like himself, including, I think, post-production. And he was first given 3 theaters. And his audience called theaters themselves and were like, I want Mark's film, where is it? And it's now in 2,000 plus theaters across the country. So I think gaming audiences are fantastically obsessed because they've been in the world. You can't consume a game. You can only participate in a game. So you become so much more attached to it that building off a gaming audience into other media is a huge play for us now.
I mean, it's very interesting because it also boils down to community building.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm saying the gaming community. Particularly for both of you as well. Each of your sort of talents that you perhaps represent, there is a fan following and a community
For
base.
every talent, even a cricketer, bro.
Absolutely. Right? From a business lens, and if you could give us any examples, or if you could possibly tell us on stuff that you're working on for the audience of how exactly do you go about thinking about it, and how do you actually look at making money on it, the commerce of it?
See, one is a very simple quid pro quo when you're somebody who performs something and you can charge a ticket, right? So you build a community and that community responds to you, and that's a very simple transaction. The other is a transaction where what we had done way back in the day when there was mediums didn't exist, was we started our own sort of GoFundMe thing with Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean was the first band to say bye-bye to labels, when there was no option only. There was just www.indianocean.com. That's all you could do. There was no thing. So that became a conundrum of how do I now make a music video? How do I now do this? How do I now do that? How do I do that? In fact, when we wanted to go on a tour to promote the album, we didn't know how to kind of put that together. So in there, a community really helped. There were some wonderful people in Chennai who hosted us. There were fans who hosted us in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, and we literally went to people's homes and stayed. And a lot of the US tours that Indian Ocean has done, it's been helped by the community massively, massively. And in return, what we do is that when the community reaches out to us, which is the most important point, is we respond very positively. So when I can literally, within 4 minutes, tell you the name of the top 300 Pratik Kuhad fans in the country. By name, by city, where they are, and we will respond to that in a manner where when there's something that...
I was going to ask bank account details as well.
No, that Book My Show has. Or District. But the same holds true for Indian Ocean. Like over time, I go into an auditorium and I know the faces of these people who come there. So without a community, there is nothing. The community also is a responsibility that you have to try and be honest to them and be upfront with them. Most of us lose touch because it's very difficult to build and hold on to community. I think people like Taylor Swift, Pearl Jam have done a phenomenal job. Like Pearl Jam's fan club is, anybody who wants to run a community should just study how they've done it. It's run by fans, by the way. It's not by, but the band just extended themselves to the community and did whatever they could. So without a community, you're nothing. I mean, for example, I know we are talking about these really large projects, but I can tell you each small or big project will push you towards the hairstyle Caleb and I have. Because you're dealing with the same issue every day. And it can be something as silly or as a comma, or it can be something as diabolical of somebody walking out of a project last minute. It is this community, now that I have met Tarana, I didn't know, and thank you so much for introducing me to someone like her. It is this community that holds on to each other. I will pick up the phone and be like, listen bro, I'm in a major soup. And it happened right now. Last week, one of our biggest competitors, okay, so we run an agency, we manage singer-songwriters, bands, etc. What would be perceived as our biggest competitor, called a gentleman called Dev Bhatia in my office, who's like us, who is our CEO, and said, bro, I have just been told by my merch person that there is going to be no on-ground support. It's a 8,000 people concert in around Delhi. Can you help? Without a second, he said, there will be 4 people from our office at your concert. Don't worry about it. Hand over the merch to us. We want nothing. Not even passes. We want nothing. Just you call, we will be there, boss. And it happens every day. We are not some Superman. 20,000 times people will help me. Like today in the morning, I called somebody and said, look, the first trailer of NS7 Weekender needs to drop next weekend. The edit is not nice. Can you help? He's like, buddy, just send me the footage. I got you. It's this community that also helps each other. No, without a community, it's not possible. Isn't that what we're trying to build at Transcend Goa as well, is the idea of community?
That's such a good point, actually. We don't talk about us as a community. Yeah. We really should, yeah.
Well, it's so interesting. So you mentioned Humans in the Loop, and Sanjay and I get a chance to work with Kiran Rao, who did Lapata Ladies, and a wonderful filmmaker. But I remember being in a car and Kiran turning to me and saying, you must watch this film, Humans in the Loop. She sent me the link, and literally we were in a long car ride, so I just watched it, and I was like, this is amazing. And she came on board as an EP.
I mean, and she supercharged it. She and Sanjay together supercharged the film. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, we all talk about like A24, HBO, but the truth is we're going to win when we do this. We're going to win when we do this. And I encourage everyone in this auditorium. The great thing about entertainment, and I tell this to everyone who works at my company, the person to your right may one day be a studio head, and the person to your left may one day be in jail. It's all subjective. But it's...
I'll be the studio head. It's fine. It's fine. You don't get to say the same thing.
But the most powerful people in your life and for us as an industry are sitting right next to you.
I was similar, a very similar line. Mine is slightly more negative to my colleagues, which is the person to the left and right is all that matters. The person you're representing is going to be here today, gone tomorrow. When shit hits the fan, it's this person who has not slept for 19 days who will not sleep for the 20th day for you. So please be aware of who your community is and build it, and please first say, you should be the one who says yes first. And sometimes, or Tarana and Caleb, and I'm going to say something and they can disagree with me, 9 times out of 10, all you need is the person to just show up.
Yeah, true.
Whether you have an expertise or not doesn't matter, just show up and we will find some work for you. I promise you.
There's always enough work to go.
Yeah,
for
always.
sure.
I want to sort of open up the floor to questions as well. But before that, I have another one. All 3 of your businesses rely heavily also on the idea of technology. In an environment that is so rapidly changing, be it formats, be it the medium that you possibly access it on or deliver it on, all of that is changing. How important is sort of tracking it, building on it, and identifying business opportunities that exist in it?
I can take this because we just had a meeting yesterday with an AI company based out of Bangalore, and we're working with them to build better listening tools with our communities and our audiences, because we realized that the typical metrics of tracking reach is just stupid. And I mean, you can give that to somebody who's funding you, but internally, if we actually want knowledge, it is not knowledge based, right? And I think we're going to be we're looking to invest pretty heavily in AI listening tools to understand when a piece of content moves from affinity into trust into advocacy, and understanding that journey and understanding where are these people coming from, what else are they interested in, and how is it moving through them. Absolutely, yes. In the listening part, we're looking to really add tech to our stack for sure. Yeah.
We are so absolutely excited about AI. And I know that sounds...
You have investments in AI, right?
Yeah, I know that sounds... This is not investment advice. I'm not a registered broker-dealer. Amit, don't kill me. But we are not of the mindset that you will watch films in the future and say, wow, you're not going to go to the movies 2 years from now and say, I really want to go see an AI film. Like, that's not going to be what you say. Like, we never said, I really want to go see a VFX movie. I really want to go see a comic book inspired adaptation. Like, no one ever said that. You just want to go see a great film. We also don't believe that AI itself will be the creator of premium content. We believe that it will be AI assisted, right? There is no AI tool that we've seen that has the beauty, the nuclear reactor of creation that artists do. But I will tell you, because we represent a lot of writers, to Drew's point, screenwriters and authors, comic book people, there is a moment where if you brought us a story where there was 5 male leads in a sci-fi movie that took place across 2 countries, we just wouldn't even read it. There is no way that we could finance the budget of it, right? You know, we have to go to a studio or a financier and have a way that this will return its money. But, you know, 2 days ago, one of our clients was shooting time-traveling Indian mytho sci-fi show that's set in India. And the platform was not worried about budget. They're like, we'll figure it out. We just needed to tell great stories. And so I'm really excited that a lot of great stories that are sitting everywhere in this country now have a lower bar to getting made. And the second thing I want to say, don't kill me, is that we often think about AI in terms of what happens on the screen. But if you actually think about how we make movies and TV shows today in India, we spend about 45 to 90 days on set. Like, that's the actual time you shoot. And we spend about 2 years doing contracts, budgets, negotiations, deals, development, right? So if you actually look at the amount of time we're spending and the actual production versus all of the stuff that goes around the production, we've got to reduce that, right? Like, if we're going to hit the goals that, you know, have been set out at places like Waves and Transcend, we as a country and economy got to become way more efficient. And then last point, this is the only place right now that has a sizable film, TV, entertainment ecosystem that actually isn't going to have massive, massive friction with these companies. So in the US, the Writers Guild, the Producer Guild, Directors Guild are going into negotiations again in June, which means they may go on strike. They are already signaling that they're going to stop work.
Again.
Right? Again. They already did it. Right? So we actually have a head start. Now, morally, ethically, I'm open to have that conversation, but we may be in the place where India can be the world leader in AI-assisted films, and no one else can do it. So I'm very bullish.
My answer is I don't know.
Sorry, just before you answer, I just got a WhatsApp message from someone at the audience who basically asked me to ask you, which is this OTT platform that said budget is no question?
And I think I know who sent that. I'm looking at him.
Dhruv, yes.
Sanjay, we all know you. I don't know what AI is going to do. I'm glad I don't know. What I do know is that TV killed the radio star. What I do know is the iPod made Kodak go bankrupt, according to me. The first domino that fell, which led to our phones having cameras, was the iPod, according to me. It's very silly, but that's how I think. What I do know is that technology has always evolved and human beings have always adapted. What I am not afraid of is I have stopped being afraid of what I don't know. I'm far more afraid of doing a bad deed enveloped in a deal than I am of will this product or machine take away my opportunity. I think as human beings, and especially people who work in the world of entertainment, we are the most resilient, adaptive, and the most phenomenally motivated people because, frankly, like I said, it is always red. There is never a green Excel sheet. Caleb and I lie to ourselves every day. I'm willing to challenge him. We lie to ourselves every day because if you look at it, it is the weirdest kind of business, boss. For the producer, it is one of the few businesses in the world when I work with an artist, I'm first in, last out. The band gets paid, the sound engineer gets paid, the light designer gets paid. I'm the one who's in, arre? Koi baat nahi, next time. It's the same thing for producers, and it is still a collection of absolute manically driven people who are driven by something greater than the problem, or in Hindi, बिपता. हमारी फितरत है बिपता से आगे देखने की. It is in our DNA as people who work in the arts. So I am not afraid because I don't know. Right? As the Bible says, ignorance is bliss. I am blissfully ignorant. जैसे evolve होता रहेगा, मैं उसके साथ adapt करता रहूँगा because also, Sanjay, there is no choice. I find this debate only facetious. What will happen? I don't know, yaar. Whatever will happen, I'll adapt to it. कहानी तो बतानी है. And now I can't go back and get a Harvard degree. He's safe. Plus, he's also, that's why he can say things like Pentagon and all. Because इसका तो visa नहीं चाहिए ना भाई. So, he's safe. I don't know, dude. I'm not afraid.
No, I want to end me asking questions on a sort of two very important questions because we have a whole bunch of students in the crowd.
Don't be afraid.
Great. First advice. What is that one skill set that you think that the next generation or the current generation sort of needs to develop to sort of adapt in this particular ecosystem?
Well, two things. I think the first, which also speaks to the point about AI, nothing is going to replace your depth of knowledge. And I think you don't need to be a jack of all trades if you know one thing very, very well. And at the end of the day, I feel like where everybody is choosing to back people is somebody who can do something that nobody else can do, because it's coming from a very deep knowledge of craft and technology. So don't just be a writer and say, but I wrote 3 scripts. It doesn't matter. Like, what do you know best about those 3 scripts? Where is it coming from? Can nobody else in the world write that but you? I think that's the necessity of the hour in any field of like art. Yeah, and I would say the second thing is build your own audience as fast as you can. You are a creator. Everybody's a creator. There's no such thing as, it's so cringe to put myself out there. I don't think that makes any sense anymore. If you can't do it, why should we do it for you? I guess that's the question that we have to ask at this point.
Dhruv, Caleb?
Completely agree on both the things she said. And of course, the first thing she said had so much depth of PTSD. Just because you've written 3 scripts, yeah, please. It's a conversation that happens a lot. Yeah, sure, man. If you're okay to put yourself out there, great. It's amazing. It's the right advice. I have no advice for your generation. Because it is the most redundant thing people did to me. When my elders gave me advice. हम तो बेटा ऐसे करते होगे आप यार. मैं क्या करूं? But I had a massive argument with my father where he kept trying to get me to live his life. And I kept telling him, Sureshji, my father's name was Suresh Jagasia, when we used to argue, we would come down to first name. Only when I was 33, by the way, not when I was 16 and all. Us time, though. Was that, boss? I am Suresh Jagasia's son. I am not Roopchandani's son. You are his son. I have a much bigger risk appetite thanks to you. So don't tell me to do a job or learn computer because you think that's what I should be doing to assuage your fears. I have no advice for you. I just have a very cliched poem. कौन कहता है आसमान में छेद नहीं होता? एक पत्थर उछाल के देखो यारो. That's it. निडर होके चलो आगे, बाकी देखी जाएगी यार. मैं 8वीं fail. I failed in the 8th. I barely ever, and I started working when I was 18 years old, full time. Sanjay Roy was this guy who runs the Jaipur Literature Festival. He's one of the most wonderful people in the world. I think it should be mandatory for anybody who wants to work in the arts to do a 6-month workshop with him. He taught me what I know today, whatever little bit. And my first boss was this lady called Vandana Verma. Made a human being out of me. But it was because I never said no, hopefully, is why I get to be on stage with a guy who's from the most coveted universities in the world. No more jokes. I mean, on a very serious level, I'm super proud that my father from heaven above is being like, "Theek hai bhai, tu kahin to baitha hai, theek hi." So don't be afraid is all I can say. Otherwise, I have no advice for you. That's it.
Caleb?
I mean, that's a really hard act to follow.
Just say ditto.
Yeah, ditto. No, I think young people today, there's been some illusion that's been spread that selling is bad. Right? Like, it's almost taboo when we're interviewing people that they will be involved in sales. Right? We've made it a bad word. If I were a young person today, I would not be afraid, and I would just learn how to sell. Whatever you're doing, sell it. Go meet people, sell yourself, sell what you're passionate about. I met a young person today who wants to be a gamer. I love it, TK, do it, but sell it, right? And have fun selling it. I think we've become afraid of the sales process because it's a human process. It's about understanding and having empathy to what that person needs and delivering something of value to them. So learn that. If you learn that, you can do whatever you want. We'll be at wherever we need to be.
That's so important. That's so
Completely
true.
agree.
Yeah,
Completely agree. In fact, you're doing sales and marketing in your life all the time.
Yeah.
That's all you're actually doing.
And it's not a bad word. Marketing is not a bad word.
Yeah, for you to get permission to go out at night to party is sales, boss. It's in that environment. No, mom, I won't do this, I won't do that. You're giving deliverables. I'm giving you these 5 deliverables, let me go. That's sales, dude. I haven't done badly, the exam was wrong. It's marketing. It's nonsense, you failed. No, you see, I have bad stomach. That's marketing. Just change the narrative. Hopefully my daughter sees this. Because that's the only thing I tell her. Everything is sales and marketing. Just recognize you're doing it. I don't know who's given the... Shakespeare did sales, boss. Ghalib had to do sales. Ghalib was not the court poet of his time. Zok was. Zok and Ghalib are 2 very famous poets. Hopefully everybody knows them and just shows how old I am. But Zok was the court poet, which meant that the king paid a stipend every month as a salary. He had patronage, confirmed. But who do you hear more about? You hear more about Ghalib because he was a marketeer number 1. Number 1 marketeer. He marketed himself so well and he was unabashed about it. Today you hear about him some 7,000 years later. Zok, I have to tell you these are his poems. Oh, acha. Ghalib everybody knows. You're doing sales and marketing.
Sorry, before I open up the floor to questions, to all the students out here, please finish your respective courses. And of course, please learn sales and marketing. Do we have any questions in the audience, please? None?
House lights have come up, it's time for you to leave. Basically, that's what it means.
Guys, last time I'm going to ask. Any questions? Oh yeah, there, behind. Please take time to think over questions.
How do you conclude the session?
How do I conclude the session or how do you conclude the session?
It's the same.
No, you can just exit and the session for you is concluded, boss. For us, we were almost concluding before you asked this question. So, yeah, we can leave.
I think what he's asking is essentially, is there a vishish tipni that you can possibly give them?
मेरे पास तो कोई advice नहीं है भाई.
You know everything. It's okay. Done.
What you don't know, ask ChatGPT.
AI will ask.
Anyone else? We have another question behind.
Hi. So thank you guys for a very insightful session. So my question is for Tarana. So you mentioned about one AI startup you are currently, exploring some synergies with, and you mentioned that reach numbers does not matter, while the numbers that would matter is on the analytics side. So can you tell us more about that? And just for context, like we are someone who sits on the investor side. So we would also want some actionable insights on the user sides of our companies, right? So like, Can you explain more on that?
Sure. I'll just run through briefly where we're at right now. We also we're still building this product and we're figuring it out with this potential partner. The thing with reach numbers and any numbers you get from a platform is they can be fudged very easily, and they are tracked to make you want to use that platform more and pay that platform more, right? So that is where we're finding a gap between what we know and what we think we know about the success of that piece of content. What we're trying to create is a math for the weightage of different kinds of signals, right? So, for example, we do immersive experiences. Now, we did an immersive experience at Serendipity Arts Festival, which had about 11 shows per day for 9 days. And at the end of every show, people wrote postcards. And we had, by the end of those 9 days, 600 postcards with all of these people's thoughts and reflections at the end of that experience, right? Now that signal, because it is somebody who has taken the time out to handwrite something and take those 5 minutes to think about it and tell you what they felt, like the weightage for that 600 number should be higher than even like a 10,000 views on Instagram, right? Because they've scrolled past something. So how do we create, that's an example of how do we create a metric that allows us to calculate that better? That's kind of where we're at with it right now. I mean, as we build it more, maybe I'll talk about it more on LinkedIn or something, and I'll tell you. More quality driven, but within the math itself, you know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just go behind and then we'll come back to you. Sorry, before you ask a question, ladies and gentlemen, Vikram, hello. Vikram's actually a wonderful investment person, works with Hashhead, and is actually one of the largest venture scouts that exist. So you guys should connect.
Yeah, a little bit you guys are doing on the blockchain side.
Sorry, your question, please?
Me or the guy behind?
You.
Oh, me. Okay, great. So, question to the three of you, right? Great insights and all of that. So, for like a 22-year-old who like to collaborate, like has ideas, you're talking about ambition and stuff. So, a 22-year-old has a lot of ambition but doesn't have network or doesn't have the right people to connect with. What would be a good role? Like, how do I get in rooms with people? Like, I have a lot of ideas, but how do I get a room with people who can actually get it from a piece of sheet to like any advice to that?
Firstly, what would be good for just yourself, because sometimes one feels afraid and lonely when you're singular, right? When you're alone. Just remember, you're not the first 22-year-old who wants to do this. Everybody at some point was a 22-year-old who wanted to get into a room, and they got there. Perseverance is absolutely something that you'll have to imbibe in your life. The other is what they said, man, and kind of in some way I mentioned was just don't be afraid to knock on the door. Don't be afraid to send an email persistently. Keep trying, keep asking for feedback. You meet somebody, just walk up to them, and you'll find it. You'll be surprised as to how easy it is sometimes just to ask. Sometimes. And sometimes it's the timing is not right and you have to wait. And your time will come.
Perfect. Expect a LinkedIn message about the AI thing. I am a founding member of an
You
AI
take
company.
my number, bro. I don't check LinkedIn much. No stress.
No, I was telling her because she wanted a voice.
She, yes.
So I'm a
phone
founding
number.
member of a voice company. So
Go
like,
for it.
yeah.
I think also that you have to do research a lot. I think people tend to go only within the circles that they know, and like your friends or like, you know, whoever is like within like two degrees from you. And I think that you need to like really be obsessed with this enough that you're like finding somebody in some far-flung place and you're like, oh, but you and what you're doing, I want to work backwards from that role. So how do I get there, right? So for example, like I was a screenwriter first, and then I realized that narrative design was starting in India, and I was like, isn't that the same as screenwriting? And I got a job in narrative design when it started, because I just like emailed someone and I was like, hey, give me the job, you know what I mean? So like stuff like
You
that.
knocked on the door fearlessly and
and
something
now
answered.
and now I have like experience in games, which I wouldn't have had before, and I couldn't have been a transmedia producer if I hadn't done that. So
Thanks,
yeah.
guys. Great advice.
Amit sir.
Thanks for a wonderful session. I proudly say that I am in sales and I love what I do. They say that it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. In our generation, what we've done is we still refer to our families, our parents for guidance, etc. And the risk-taking ability was not there. The current generation is a generation of Instagram and instant noodles. How do we connect to this generation and, imbibe them the, ideas of risk-taking ability, and how different do you find them to be?
Sir, I will be candid, and I'm not trying to be offensive. I think the first step is to respect them like hell. Their problems are things we have never even imagined what it's like to be wanting to put your phone down but can't be able to. It's phenomenal that they get, Secondly, I think they are, this generation is phenomenally motivated. They're extremely intelligent. They are also, but we tend to forget because they use much bigger words, phrases, catchphrases. We forget that they're also just 18, 22 and 11, right? Like my daughter can have an argument with me which is phenomenally charged with logic, but I have to remind myself she's 11 also. She's also a baby, and she's my baby. So for me, anybody I speak to who is younger than me, it's a mark of respect because they surely know more than I do. I don't have the capacity to consume as much as they do, because they do. Their risk-taking ability is phenomenal. They quit jobs at the drop of a hat, boss. Jahan badtamizi hui, I'm out. Where did we have the guts? You think, what will I? They will drop you and move on. So I think their risk-taking ability is phenomenal. They will channel themselves and they will find their own North Stars. I don't think we are that. I don't think so, because it's how my partner is much younger than I am. So she actually grew up in a world of very fast internet. I grew up in dial-up time. So her and my oscillation power is also that different. So I think they'll find their North Star. I'm just happy to be here to watch it in my prime, to see them change the whole world. And it's their world now. It's not ours. It's their time. We, like I said, with AI, isme darna kya? We have no choice. You and I still have enough energy in our body to work. So we have to change with them rather than them changing to us. We have to adapt to them, and I will happily do it.
I also think we got to give them some space to meet real people. And I think increasingly, this will be the need of the hour. As one's digital life feels more real, but yet will become increasingly more fake with AI, right? These types of mediums, I think, will supercharge and have exponential effects because people today actually just don't meet each other. Right?
Can I,
very simply, if we just give really talented people the ability to be in a room with each other, we may have non-linear effects that we can't predict. So I actually think for young people today, get out of the house and like come meet somebody, shake a hand, will help.
Yeah, sorry, but ये ना वही है. बेटा तुम सुबह उठ के देखो जल्दी. I don't know. I'll happily agree with Caleb because I don't have an idea. He does. And this has been my life. If somebody has an idea and I don't in a situation, I'll fall in line.
He has a degree too.
हाँ, बहुत भारी degree sir. Passport है sir क्या बात कर रहे हैं? Degree. I've been telling him to adopt me for the last 5 years. मेरे को passport चाहिए. So I don't know whether they should go out and meet people. I'd love to meet you guys. I can only offer myself. ये मुझे नहीं पता whether they want to meet each other. I don't know.
Can I offer a perspective? Because I'm 33 years old, so I feel like I'm like, I just had... Like,
What would you know?
No.
देखा ही क्या है तुमने?
This year was the year that I stopped trying to be like knowing, Gen Z slang. I was like, I don't know it anymore, leave me alone. Like, I don't know what aura farming is, please guys. Don't aura farming? I don't know what it means, please leave me. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
I just learned.
I don't know. Someone just like called me like Pookie the other day. I was like, what does that mean? Please stop. But the thing that I feel like I do know is that we're all the same. At the end of the day, the classics work always. The classics, the same feelings exist. Love, fear, anxiety. Like I want money, I want power, I want to be seen, I want to be heard. Everybody has felt that at this stage of their lives in every like generation all the time. So I think we're not that different. We just like different things at the surface. That's all.
Superb, है that line again by Shakespeare. If you tickle us, will we not laugh? If you prick us, do we not bleed? So that's not going to change ever. That's why I'm not afraid of you guys. Not afraid of you.
On that note, I'm going to
I
conclude
am
this
actually.
session.
Give me a job.
Huh?
I am actually. I'm quite fearful of them. Just give me a job. Whenever you guys, you know.
I just want to also add about this research that I was reading. 18 to 26, that age bracket actually generates far more conversational and actual currency than any other generation pre or post. So guys, all you students out there, please do what you would, as in continue doing what you're doing. Study, sell. Thank you, all three of you.
Thank
Truly
you and thank you
appreciate
Thank
it
you, Sanjay. Thank you so
thank
much.
you for everybody who organized this. Really lovely.
for
Thank you.
being honest, for having us laugh, for sharing wonderful insights with us. Truly, thank you. Thank you for doing this. May I please call on stage Mrunal Valke, GM ESG, to kindly felicitate our wonderful speakers. And now can I request everyone to also come ahead for a group picture? Thank you, guys. We're going to take a short lunch recess and we'll be back at 2:30.